Courtney Gaines, how are you, mate?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm excited. I've been looking forward to talking to you. So thank you for taking the time.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind of you.
And to celebrate the occasion, I do have a Back to the Future mug.
Excellent.
Now, our
Technically,
time is
technically, you are in the future, right? You're in the next day right now, so you've accomplished your goal.
exactly. I'm method. um, so we our time is limited. So if you don't mind, I'm going to sort of hopscotch between quite a few things, but definitely want to start with your latest film is Queen Bees, and
Yes.
sort of to help promote this on our show, we're going to be talking about sort of senior citizens in film, and that's not to say that you're one of the senior citizens, but you do play in this film.
I'm getting there, but I'm not quite the senior citizen level yet. No, but yeah,
Can
I only did a cameo in that movie, but I had the opportunity to work with Ellen Bernstein, Anne Margaret, Jane Curtin, and Loretta Devine, and I wasn't going to miss that opportunity, and that was just a lot of fun.
Incredible. It's probably one of the most prestigious casts that you've sort of been part of. I mean, even when you include James Caan and whatnot, I know you weren't
James
particularly
Caan
in
and
a scene with
Christopher
him, but
Lloyd, yeah, which we've technically been
inc-
in two movies, but haven't actually worked together.
yeah, was can you give a bit of a really brief rundown for our listeners what this one is all about?
Yeah, sure. So Ellen Bernstein goes into a retirement home while her house is supposed to be getting worked on, and then the house burns to the ground. And then she has to move in there, and she realizes it's like high school all over again with the mean girls and the cliques and the popular crowds and the not popular. And then her and James Caan end up finding love in the end. But it really touches on what seniors go through. Movie the man who wrote it, the producer and writer, this is what happened with his grandmother, and he was shocked to find out it was like high school all over again. So he decided to write a movie about it. I just, like, again, I said, I just do a cameo. I come in a diner and steal Ellen Bernstein's purse, and then they catch me and bond by beating me up, and it's sort of a bonding moment for them. But what was really great is the first half of the scene, I just got to watch them work. I got to watch these really wonderful actresses for like half a day just do their thing, and I'm a student of the game, and I know like Ellen Bernstein is like Method from Actor Studio, and then you've got like a Jane Curtin with that Saturday Night Live comic timing you can't teach, just to watch
Yeah,
how they all interacted with each other. I couldn't wait when it was my turn to get to work with them. I had a ball.
for sure. Who was the most mischievous of them?
Mischievous. That's an interesting question. I don't know that anybody was overly mischievous. I like to tell you a couple stories. When I got introduced to them, Jane Curtin was really sweet and was like, "I know you. You've been in everything." And I thought, how nice that Jane Curtin saying that to me, right? That was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then Anna Margaret kept going, "Oh, we're gonna have to beat you up. I'm so sorry. She all day she goes, I just thought, wow, this is Anna Margaret, man. I mean, like, come on. Did I ever think I would get a chance to work with Anna Margaret? Nah.
Oh, let alone being cozied up to her, like can't
Yeah.
complain.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I mean, I'll tell you, she's still beautiful, even, at 70 or whatever she is. Just a beautiful woman.
Absolutely, cannot disagree. And of course, on our show, we are focused heavily on genre films, and you have been in so many of the films that we discuss. From Hard Bodies to The Burbs and Back to the Future, Colors, Can't Buy Me Love, you name
Yes,
it.
sir.
But it did all begin with Children of the Corn in 1984. Um, that would have to be one of the most defining and important moments of your career, yeah?
You froze for just a second. I'm going to assume you were talking about Children of the Corn.
Yeah, yeah, I was. I'll go back and I'll ask again. 1984, that's where it all began. Um, an important moment in your career, nonetheless. Is that the film that sort of has defined your career?
I think it's by far the most. I would say by far, but it's the most iconic and the most recognizable. People certainly recognize it from The Burbs and Can't Buy Me Love, and certainly Back to the Future. But I would say that's the one that's the most recognizable, and because of conventions, sci-fi and horror fans are by far the most loyal. That
Hmm.
that's where I have the most feedback is from Children of the Corn. I can't tell me how many times people have come up to me and said, you scared the beep out of me in my childhood. I had nightmares, people coming women shaking, sweating, and I just try to ease and have them have a good experience so they can let that go in their life.
Yeah. So in terms of like that film and your career, was there immediate attention on you from it, or was that a slow build?
There was, but it was also not just in the business, but it was also in the world. I was not prepared for the reaction I was going to get. I was not prepared for literally kids running to their mothers crying and things. Like, this was not, it was, what I learned was the power of cinema is what I learned. I learned, like, wow, this really, what we do can have a great impact, good or bad. And then the other thing I thought to myself was just, this is such a defining character. I got to make sure I don't do this character again right now. My goal became in the 80s to not play the same character twice. And I was able to achieve that. I was able to have a successful project in every genre, even the TNA genre, which no longer exists. But, in comedy, in horror, in drama, I was able to succeed. And then, I don't even Colors, I guess, is a drama, but even that was it's a groundbreaking film in its own right, because no one had ever talked about the gangs of Los Angeles before. That movie broke West Coast rap, so I was able to be part of some things that really had some impact in the 80s. And I think that's why those are still the things I'm most known for,
Yeah, for sure. And from my point of view, the one that I identify with you the most is definitely The Burbs. Just absolutely phenomenal performance in that one. Another insane cast as well. Can you talk a little bit about making that movie? Was it as fun to shoot as it was to watch?
It was fun. I mean, it was, my character was, I'm a method actor, right? So I'm trying to get in there, My big thing I worked with was an animal essence. I was like a scared deer in headlights. And I think if you look at it from that point of view, you'll see I was able to achieve that, a stranger in a strange land. Joe Dante was great. I gave him all the credit in the world for the look. He's the one who's like, go get these teeth done and then let me see them. And he go, oh, I want this haircut really bad. Don't make it good. Oh, here's the swath of I want the lederhosen. When they get made, come see me. And I put all this stuff on. He just started laughing and going, you're never going to work again. You're never going to work again. He was great. So the challenge was, because this guy was a stranger from a strange land, the problem was everywhere I looked were people I grew up with, that I recognized. I mean, everything from Henry Gibson to Tom Hanks to Carrie Fisher to a big Bruce Dern fan. I had to shake that off. I don't know these people, That was the biggest challenge. The thing that was interesting historically was there was a writer's strike during the time that was being shot. So we and Fletch 2 were the only movies on the entire Universal lot. And we were there mostly at nights. So we mostly had the whole lot to ourselves, which was really kind of a weird thing.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people, a lot of actors say that, little things like wardrobe and makeup will really help them latch onto a character. Was it the same with that one? Like, the way you looked, surely it was easy to immerse into.
Well, usually I come up with a lot of that stuff myself. Sometimes I even, go back and forth with wardrobe to the point where they're like, fine, show the director what you want, thinking they're not going to like it. And they usually go with my choices and they get mad at me. I mean, if you have a vision, you got to work for it, But like I said, in this case, Joe Dante was very clear about what he wanted. And I would say where that really came together for me, as far as the whole thing, was when we did the makeup. I always forget the makeup artist's name, but he's like, if you look at his credits, I'm sure they're a mile long. His apprenticeship was with Eddie Munster, and that's how far back he went. So, and he would not let me leave the chair until it was done. They would sometimes try to rush me out the door, and he was an old veteran. He's like, just go away. I'll tell you when he's done. And he taught me more about makeup than anybody. Because what he was doing was the opposite of making you look good. He was reversing it. So say my eyes are beady and so they're shadowy here. Normally you do makeup to open that up, right? He would put more shadows in there to make it look. It was here. And then he did a very interesting thing that no one else has ever done that I've gone on to use, particularly for auditions, is he used pastels to get green veins in my face. And you'll notice in some of the close-ups, you'll see I have these green veins. And he took a pastel, used a little sandpaper, and then brushed it on with a brush. And that was usually the final touch for him. And it was just subtle and interesting. And I like I said, I learned more about makeup, and that's when it really clicked. When the makeup was done the first time, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And that
There
that
was
animal,
definitely something mossy about your face in that one.
yeah, yeah, it was that green in there you didn't know about.
You're like the ginger Beetlejuice.
There you go. There you go.
That's awesome. And that cast was particularly diverse, and no two actors were alike. You know, was there a good rapport with the cast on that one?
Yeah, there was, and I got everybody got along. Um, Tom Hanks Tom Hanks was the most down to earth A-lister you're ever going to meet. So when you have that, sort of sets a tone for no diva ships here going on anywhere. Nobody tripping because your lead guy is chilled out. So that makes a big difference. He was very cool. But for me, like I said, I was a big Bruce Dern fan, and Bruce Dern kind of, after we did this first scene where I come out and smash the trash can, he came up to me and he called me by my character's name. He's like, "That was really good work, Hans." And he started talking about method acting, and he took me under his wing, and it meant a lot to me for someone as good as he is to recognize what I was doing. We got to work together again recently in a movie called Hellblazer that's got a pretty good horror cast. But the reason I went to go do that was mainly just to tell him how much I appreciated him all those years ago, taking notice to what I did. He didn't have to do that. So it was really great to catch up with him. And it was great to work with him again. I mean, the guy's 70 and his mind's still twice as fast as mine. He's just improvising and coming up with, he's brilliant, man. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. And we've been trying to get Joe Dante on the show this year, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get him on and talk a bit more about the Burbs. You were a teen star in the 80s. Were you part of that soda pop club sort of culture?
No, and I never really got quite in that brat pack that happened. I wasn't really in that circle, but I was, and I've always just been about the work. I wasn't really interested in the parties and the whatever. That was not to me. I always tell people, LA is anything you want to make it. It's all there, and be careful, because that's how a lot of people crash and burn. And my eye was on the prize of making the transition into being an adult actor. So I knew I had to keep studying. I knew I had to keep working at it. I knew that, I had this run, but eventually when that run was over, I was going to have to figure out how to make that transition. And, I think having that foresight has served me well.
Yeah, for sure. And looking, you're still making so many films, and in fact, you're actually in a film with a friend of mine, Candy Corn. I know Timothy Beckholt, who was in that one, and yeah, he's a funny guy. But looking back, do you have any favorites?
That was a very different thing for Jimmy to do, because he does a lot of imitations and things, and he comes from a small town in Ohio. That was like, what an opportunity for him. I started out just an actor on that. I ended up coming on as a producer and helped raise a little funding to finish it. And when we shot in LA, I kind of said, okay, now you're in my world. I can get deals on trailers, and I'm gonna show you how we do it here and get it done.
Yeah.
And the movie came out solid. Came out to be a good little film.
It certainly did. And looking back at your career, do you have any personal favorites of your own? Just ones that really stand out to you as, stuff that you're really proud of?
In TV, I did some very, very good guest stars in TV. The two that jump out is Diagnosis Murder. I played a character who was paralyzed on one side and pretending to have cerebral palsy on the other, and then breaks out of all that in the scene with Dick Van Dyke in the court scene. I had less than a week to prepare that. I had less than 24 hours to audition for it. So I'm pretty proud of that. I just did a Criminal Minds a few years back that I'm also very proud of, where I play this homeless character who's got PTSD and all these things. It has all these turns and twists. You think he's the unsub, but he's not. And it's a wonderful role. And it's called My Brother's Keeper. So if you like that show, check it out. As far as films, the two that jump out as far as interesting, I did a movie called Benny Bliss and the Disciples of Greatness that I helped produce, that I wrote 4 songs. And the most without the net I've ever been is we did a 30-minute set live. We shot it twice. that was just like we hadn't even rehearsed the whole set through in any kind of order. And it was the most without a net I've ever been. No punch-ins vocally, real band, very good band. And that was an amazing, amazing experience. And then Memphis Belle, all of us who were part of that talk about, chasing something that good for the rest of our career, because it was just top notch every step of the way. 4 or 5 Oscar-winning people on the crew, the DP, the set dresser, a set designer, which is a very important thing on movies, the editor, the producer, just top notch people,
Absolutely, that is a great one. And I think we might have to cover that one on our show at some point soon too. But look, sadly the clock has run out. But I could talk to you for ages. But thank you so much for taking time out of your afternoon or evening to chat.
Very good. Well, maybe another time with something else coming out, you could set it up where it's not as short a meeting. We could do a longer one down the road if you'd like.
Would absolutely love it. Even get you on for a whole episode.
Sounds good.